All right. Welcome back to Ionan's Edge, everyone. I'm Ionan, here with another knife review for you. Today I'm bringing you a budget knife. This is the RoseCraft Blades Pocket Monster. So let's jump in with basic specs, as I always do. This is an AR RPM 9 blade steel. We've got full steel liners on this. We've got G10 scales with some texturing, which I like. It's a liner lock. Lockup looks solid. No lock stick on this thing. Closes right up every time. You got flipper tab, a front flipper tab, and you've got some thumb studs. Whichever way you want to roll this knife is perfectly fine. There you go. You've also got ceramic ball bearings and a deep carry spring type pocket clip on this thing. So there you go. There's some of the basic specs. You've also got 2 inches of fine cutting edge. You've got a scale length of just under 4 inches, 3 7/8, and a tip to tail of 6 1/8 on this knife. The weight on my digital scale was 3.8 ounces. So that gives you all the basics on this. And also, in case you didn't already know this is a Swags designed knife. Let's talk about what I like. First of all, the knife has great ergos. It feels really, really solid in your hand, fits nice. The palm swell in the back feels really good. There is plenty of room here for people who have larger hands to get another, finger back there with ease if you're holding it in the front position. In the back position, the knife is still easy to hold on to. The jimping on the top of the blade is definitely meaningful and useful. When you're in the forward choil position, you pretty much have to use the jimping as a pinch, like this, but it does have a really, really big choil. I have large glove-sized hands. I don't have the biggest, chunkiest fingers, but there you go. There's still some room there. You're not anywhere near that blade. So the ergonomics on the knife are excellent. The pocket clip works good. It carries very, very well. Like I said, I like the jimping on the spine. I like the big forward choil. I love having 2 deployment methods, right? Front flipper and thumb studs. All of that stuff, those are all pluses for sure. And the build quality on this knife is pretty good for what would be considered a budget line knife. So are there any issues or dislikes with this knife? Well, there are. And the biggest one for me is that the blade is just too small for what this knife is. There's only 2 inches from tip to the choil back here of actual cutting surface. It's not a lot on a knife that's this size. So a few of the cutting tasks that I put it through, the knife just kind of starts to cut through and then slips out. And then you got to start a cut again, and you got to start again. So multiple cuts on things that are kind of everyday tasks. I won't say it's bad, but at the same time, it would have been nice to have a little bit more cutting edge on this knife. And then I just kind of found myself wishing that the knife maybe had a little slightly smaller choil and a little longer blade, or at least a little bit more cutting edge on the blade, maybe coming out and having a more steep front angle here where the blade grind was. Again, it's not a bad knife. It works okay, but it's just something that I noticed. It does have a really short blade for a knife in this size category. So let's do a couple size comparisons for you just so you can see what I'm talking about. So obviously, when you look at this knife, you might be reminded of an earlier Swags design, which would be the CJRB More Malia. And I think these 2 knives are very good comparisons because they're both knives that she designed, and they're both in the same basic size category. So let's take a look here. Here's the CJRB More Malia. And you can see what I mean. So if you look at these 2 knives, yep, the More Malia has a little bit more handle width, very similar style. You can see who designed this knife. The design elements are all there. Here she incorporated a full forward choil, which the Mormalia does not have. But what the Mormalia does have, by way of its Wharncliffe blade, is quite a bit more cutting edge, a half an inch more cutting edge overall than pretty much than the RoseCraft Pocket Monster. So I know that this is an evolution in the design philosophy of someone, but you can see all the same design cues in here. There's a lot of similarities between these two knives. Personally, myself, I'd rather have the Mormalia. I like having more blade up there. I like having the Wharncliffe. It's got similar ergos. I'm not afraid to hold it here. This one, as you notice, is a little bit more rounded off, whereas this one here is more pointed, forcing you to not necessarily hold the knife there, which wouldn't be uncomfortable either. You've got a huge choil, so you want to hold it there, but then there's just not a lot of blade up there in front of you. So that gives you a good comparison. Here's an earlier design knife to a more recently designed knife. Similar size, same type of materials, obviously the same, pretty similar build quality in both of these knives, and you would expect that. Now let me show you something that's a little bit different here real quick. This is the Kubi Knives Duroc, and I feel like this fits into that same size category as Pocket Monster. Now you don't get it quite as nice of ergos here. The Duroc definitely is not a uncomfortable knife in any way, shape, or form, but you've got the same style pocket clip, full steel liners, G10. This is D2. Obviously, I'd rather have the AR RPM 9 myself, but when you put these knives next to each other, look at how much more cutting edge there is on this. I get that this doesn't have a forward choil, but because of this Wharncliffe style blade, you do get to bring this tip out a lot further, so you actually get more cutting edge. That, I think, makes the Duroc more desirable to me, just like the Mormalia is a little bit more desirable to me. So there's a good size comparison of a couple of knives. So let's summarize. Overall, the Pocket Monster is a good value. It is $53.99, so $54, and it's been on sale a couple of times for less than that. You can usually pick it up for right around $50 or a little less. It has good blade steel, coated AR RPM 9. It has great ergos. You've got at least one really comfortable, solid carry position. It can be carried from back here. I don't know whether people would do that or not. 2 deployment methods. But with only 2 inches of fine cutting edge, it leaves me wanting. It leaves me wanting another 3/8 to half an inch of blade length here to use. So it's still a fun little knife as long as you know what you're getting yourself into for around $50. Still a good value, still a solid build quality. But I will say this. If for some reason Swag should ever see this review, here's what I would say to you, Swags. How about a Wharncliffe bladed version of this knife? Give me this kind of blade with these ergos and a decent sized front choil. All right, put this tip on this knife like this. Right there, pivot to pivot. Yeah, bring this out, bring this down, give me some extra actual really good usable cutting edge on this knife, and we'd have a winner there. So there you go. There is the RoseCraft Blades Pocket Monster. $54, pretty good little budget knife. Thanks for tuning in and checking things out today. If you liked my review, please think about hitting the like button and subscribing to my channel for future content notifications. And as always, folks, thank you for watching and stay sharp.